Alright guys, we have the new EZA drop today, which is the INT Legendary Super Saiyan Broly. We do have him rainbowed. He is level 10 links. He is good to go. On Carnival LR Broly's 200% lead. We actually have him immediately on rotation with him and also Broly, Chi and Lemo. So very, very good start for him. What's his starter turn numbers? 659k attack stat, 328k defense. Of course, he is going to be stacking. I'm trying to get Broly, Chile, and Lemo orbs, but it doesn't look like I'm going to get them the full 7. But we are giving Broly some support. So after EZAing, of course, biggest part of his kit is he does stack. He stacks attack by 50%. And a lot of people, including myself, when his details dropped, because we just saw raise his defense, which is typically 30%. He does only stack defense by 20%. Now, I even said when I thought it was 30%. From his kit, which he does look good, he does look very solid. I do feel like him stacking 9.9 starting, by the way, with that Broly, Chile, and Lemo support. I did say, even when I thought it was 30, probably be better if he stacked by 50. By the way, we are facing a Goku enemy. I thought this stage would be best because not only is it difficult, but we do have a mix between a Goku enemy being here. So right now, because we're facing an enemy whose name includes Goku, we do have a guaranteed additional, which helps with the stacking, and that extra 15% damage reduction and 15% crit chance. Then of course, once we get past this phase, it will just be Jeet. So I thought this stage would be a good mix to show him with a Goku enemy and without, which by the way, he's popping off different right now with the additional supers. But I said he should stack defense and attack both by 50%, and that's when I thought the defensive stack was 30. I said, by what I saw his kit was off of Thirst Thoughts, I said I thought he was good, I thought he was solid, I thought he was similar to Tech Ultimate Go On. I didn't think he was like on that level, but he was similar. But he should still stack both by 50%, it would help him out a lot. He doesn't even have 30, it's by 20. So right now, I'm really intrigued and I'm really curious to see, especially when you're getting really unlucky, because he does have he has 2 built-in additionals, and if they're not popping and the potential system isn't popping, how quickly can he stack if you're not constantly getting all these additional supers? How much is that 20% really going to do? Because off at first glance, by only stacking 20% defense and getting like an additional or 2 here and there, you know, his defense is probably going to get to an okay spot, but with enemies doing like 2.5 million plus nowadays, if he doesn't have the full damage reduction but has the bulk, but only has like 600k defense, normals, he's going to be fine. A few super attacks, he's probably going to take a ton of damage, but he might survive. But the biggest and baddest, like your Gokus and Freezers and your Beast Gohans, because funny enough, he has type disadvantage, and then probably the final stage of potentially this Supreme Magnificent Battle, which could be a Broly, could be a Goku. If it's a Broly, he probably gets one shot. If it's a Goku, he may survive because of the extra 15% damage reduction. But I do still stand by that. And even when I first saw his kit, I do think the 30 wasn't enough. The 20% definitely is enough. And I think both should have been 50. But it is what it is. Here we are. We'll see what happens. We have got quite fortunate with the amount of additionals he has done on that first turn. So he has got quite a few stacks in. But to start the turn, he does start with Ki +3, attack and defense plus 260%. He reduces damage received by 26% and has a chance of performing a chance upon a critical hit plus 26%. He'll launch an additional attack. There's a 50% chance of becoming a super attack. No condition, just straight off like that. Gains an additional attack and defense plus 26% when attacking as well. And then gains an additional Ki +3 and launches an additional attack. There's a 70% chance of becoming a super attack. And an additional 18% damage reduction. And chance of performing a critical hit plus 18% when attacking. If you're facing a Pure Saiyan, Hybrid Saiyan, or Movie Heroes category enemy. I mean, with tireless support, we're actually up to 2.2 mil and 612k defense. We already have his active skill ready as well, which his active skill conditions are quite similar to the other Brolys, where literally you gain Ki +6 and attack +60%. Unfortunately, it's only for 1 turn, and your attacks become effective against all types. You can do that after doing 4 or more super attacks, which of course we've done. I'm actually going to slide him into slot 1. I'm going to let him stack up a little bit more while we do have the guaranteed additional against Goku. And then I'll use his active skill. 11.6. 11.6. But in terms of that second part of his passive where there is a condition attached to it, that's the one that I turned around and said, and I stand by this, where I don't think that's that restrictive. The Goku part, yes. However, it's not as restrictive, I think, as a lot of people first thought or was making it out to be. And they did compare him to Goku Black from last year, which I get where you're coming from, but no. Because Goku Black's whole kit, his whole gimmick was relying on him stacking. And the only additional that man would get is when you're facing, I can't remember what the condition is, but specifically facing a certain type of enemy. And then there was no other enemies within that category or that type of enemy outside of like one event in the entire game. Whereas Broly's, he has a 50% chance of an additional. He has a 70% chance of an additional if you're facing a Pure Saiyan, Hybrid Saiyan, or Movie Heroes category enemy. And to me, that's quite expansive. Also, most of the enemies in the game right now, because of Supreme Magnificent Battle, are Pure Saiyans, Hybrid Saiyans, or Movie Heroes. If you think about in the last few months, Red Zone is the only one you won't include any of those enemies for, because typically they're extreme units, aside from maybe a Broly here and there, but we haven't had one since God knows how long. Actually, movie edition part 2. And this is another thing Int Broly can benefit from. This man's domain. So he's also going to be being buffed by that. So yeah, there's the red zones, which we're not going to include. And then I think I'm going to pop a Whis just in case for Broly, Chi-Lai, and Lemo. But then, outside of that, for Pure Saiyans, Hybrid Saiyans, and Movie Hero category enemies, you have Beast, currently right now. The Universe Survival Saga Supreme Magnificent Battle isn't even finished yet, and that's going to be Goku and Frieza. While that may not be a Pure Saiyan, a Hybrid Saiyan, or a Movie Heroes enemy, that is a enemy whose name includes Goku. So you kind of swap one for the other, I guess. Then you have this Supreme Magnificent Battle, which so far has just purely been Pure Saiyan, Hybrid Saiyans, and Movie Heroes enemies, and will continue to be that even if the final enemy is Broly. Even the enemies along the way in some of the older Supreme Magnificent Battles fall under that. You know, you've got UI Gokus, SSBEs, you've got actually another SSBE stage, you've got God Goku. So with Supreme Magnificent Battle continuing on, and even some of the other difficult content we've got, which isn't on the Red Zone level, isn't on the Supreme Magnificent Battle level, there are still pure Hybrid Saiyan enemies and Movie Hero category enemies. That one really isn't restrictive whatsoever. There might be a few events here and there in the future and currently that this Broly won't get that entire buff from, but the majority right now do fall under those three categories, so I feel like that's kind of easy to get. The Goku part, as I said, is kind of restrictive because you have to face a certain enemy. However, facing a Goku enemy isn't even that difficult. It is a lot more restrictive than, say, the three category portion or the three category conditions that Broly has. But if you think about it as well, if you really deep it, you have a ton of Goku enemies in this Supreme Magnificent Battle. There's going to be future Supreme Magnificent Battles. I just realized they can't dodge here either. That's techie. There's going to be future Supreme Magnificent Battle stages where more than likely there might be Gokus put in there because typically they're superclass enemies. So they're going to be Gokus. Is it going to be as easy to get off as I say, the Pure Saiyan, Hybrid Saiyan, or Movie Heroes category condition? No. But it's not going to be overly restrictive where he's going to be useful in one event in the entire game and that's it forever. Terrible. Especially because he has other additionals that he can trigger in his passive. The extra guaranteed one is nice. But he can still additional super to help with his stacking. The damage reduction is mainly what you miss out on because altogether that's a ton of damage reduction combined with him stacking as well, which helps out a lot. But it is restrictive, do not get me wrong, I will admit that, but I don't think it's as restrictive as some people made out just because of how frequent Goku enemies have been recently and will continue to be with future Supreme Magnificent Battles. But we do have his active skill ready, we are going to pop it, we're going to get that Ki +6, attack +60%, and attacks become effective against all types, so let me pop that right now.
Show me your fighting spirit. If you don't, I'll destroy this planet.
Okay, Broly's got that big buff, and do you know what? We're going to give Carnival LR Broly his big buff as well. So yeah, just kind of round that out because I felt like I kind of rambled it a little bit. The Goku condition does feel quite restrictive. It's not as restrictive as it seems first glance and as some people's made out, just because there is quite a few Goku enemies. It is a lot more specific though, so it'll be a little bit more difficult because there is fewer and fairer Goku enemies in the game compared to how vast and wide the Pure Saiyan, Hybrid Saiyan, or Movie Heroes category condition is. Naturally, because there's literally 3 conditions with multiple units. But I don't think it's as difficult to activate or get as people first made out. So Broly is up to a 5.4 million attack stat, 838k defense. We have, of course, lost the guaranteed additional. We've lost this 15% chance to crit and 15% damage reduction because we're not facing a Goku. However, with the 26% we have and the extra 18 we have, which takes them up to what, 44% damage reduction with 838k defense. Broly's chilling. At least here anyway, Broly's chilling. So any normal in the game, I think Broly's fine for the most part. I think it's like the biggest and baddest enemies with like the biggest hit in super attacks. And if you get unlucky with additional supers, I think that's when he's probably either going to take a ton of damage or potentially die. Which I wish he was a little bit better than that. However, not every single unit or not every single EZA in the game is going to be able to tank a 2.5 million super attack plus 22 million attack stat though on his active skill turn. Not every single unit is going to be able to tank the hardest hitting super attack in the game for double digits or nothing. But from what I'm seeing, he's good. As I said, my only qualm with this unit is 20% defense on a stack. I feel like is too low. But I also feel like for how good I wanted him to be, which also he's very good, but because of how good I wanted him to be to go with, say, DBS Broly, the new Carnival LR, I wanted him to be on that level almost in EZA terms. But because we did get that guaranteed additional, because we're facing a Goku enemy for a bit, obviously our defense is a bit higher than potentially what it would be, say, against the Beast, say, against the Broly, or say if we were facing Jeets the entire time. So, you know, that 800k defense could have been a bit less and could have been in the realms of like 600-700k. So overall for Broly, I'm not going to lie, he's good. He's very good. He's very solid. He can stack his attack up very quickly and put out those ridiculous numbers, especially as what we saw on his active skill turn. He's another unit that benefits a whole bunch with this celebration right now naturally with the theme, because he links well with the new Broly, he links well with DBS Broly. Not only that as well, another unit that benefits from 9th anniversary Broly's domain. You have constant support flying about as well with Team Turles and Broly, Cheelai, and Lemo. And then other categories you can get Kid Buu on as well. So that's a huge buff for him. That's a huge bonus. Defensively, as I said, we're facing a Goku enemy in the beginning. So we actually also get very fortunate with how often our additional supers did actually become super attacks. We got quite fortunate with that. I'm really intrigued to see what happens if that 50% chance, that 70% chance doesn't proc and they're just normals. So you miss out on some stacks. And without facing a Goku enemy whatsoever. I feel like Broly will be able to tank normals with all of his damage reduction. And that's not even including the Goku portion of his passive. Super attacks, I feel like he can tank a few of the hardest ones in the game, depending on how your additionals go. And again, if you're facing a Goku enemy and have that extra damage reduction and guaranteed additional, if you're not, then I feel like the hardest hitting enemies in the game will either kill Broly or do a ton of damage, but more than likely kill him. But that's with no items. I think with an item active, because he naturally most of the time will have 44% damage reduction, Broly will survive because he has almost full damage reduction. You no item runners, no, I think Broly will get you killed without items. So I still think he's good regardless. I still think he's very, very good. I just wish the stacking was 50 rather than 20. And I wanted it to be 50 even when it was 30. Now I'm kind of wishing that was 30 instead of 20 instead. But I do feel like the stacking of the defense should have been more than 20%. But overall, his EZA is still very good. I'm intrigued to see how he does against some of the other hardest enemies in the game, but he definitely done really, really well there. I think he's good, but let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I'll see you in the next video, guys. Take care, have a great rest of your day, and Post.